Hey everyone, Sean with P365XL.com, and today we're doing another hot wash. This episode, we're gonna cover two different guns. The SIG P365XL versus the SIG P365 Spectre. Now these guns are very similar, but one is a little more upgraded than the other. This gun costs $600. This gun costs around $1,100, but it has some pretty significant upgrades. We're gonna go through all of those and tell you how we feel about their performance coming up. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna start out with is ergonomics. These two guns are essentially the same size. You can see they're the same thickness, same length, and same width. But the one thing that I'll point out that they have in common is a really good beaver tail over the back, so that even with my big hands and high grip, I don't experience any kind of slide bite when I'm firing the gun. There's also plenty of room to get all three of my fingers on the grip to allow me to have a secure grip. The one big difference between these two is the Spectre comp has a far more aggressive pattern on the grip. This is extremely grippy, and that helps handle the recoil out of such a small gun that's chambered at 9mm. So pretty much both guns are the same, but one other difference that kind of fits along the lines of ergonomics is the difference in the placement of the front sight. You'll notice that with the P365XL, the sight is all the way down to the end of the muzzle. So you get a slight advantage of a little bit more distance, but you make up for it on the Spectre comp with the fact that it's actually compensated. So sight radius is important, but it's not gonna make that much of a difference in this case. So essentially the ergonomics are basically the same. The controls are all in the same place, and the size is basically the same, but the grip is definitely better, far more grippy on the Spectre comp. Now let's move on to accuracy. All right, everyone, we're gonna move on to accuracy. Now, I wanna thank Remington briefly because they sent us out some 115 grain UMC to take these guns out and practice with. We're gonna start out with the P365XL, and we are going to shoot it from 7 yards and just see how we do. I don't think that there's gonna be a huge difference between the accuracy of these two guns. I think that the Spectre comp was designed to do something a little better that's different than accuracy, but we'll see what happens here. So we'll shoot 2 3-shot groups from 7 yards, and then we'll do the other gun and compare and see what we come up with. All right, I threw that one up top, but the next two were touching. So we'll move down to the next one. Okay, let's move on to the Spectre comp. Same drill, 7 yards, 3-shot groups. One more. Okay, let's go check them out. So the first group, I threw this one up high, but these two are pretty close. Was happy with that. Down here, spread out a little bit, but you can kind of get the idea. The Spectre comp may be a little bit tighter, but that has probably everything to do with me and not necessarily the difference between the guns. And then finally this last group here, about 1 inch, maybe a little bit more from 7 yards. Now, I've just started shooting these, so getting used to them, the trigger is a little bit different. I like it, but while we're on that topic, let's go back and we'll talk about the triggers. All right, so talking about the trigger on the P365, I like this flat shoe. I like the angle that it's at. It's out here a little further, so my longer finger, I'm able to get just the tip on the end of the shoe itself. And then when I press it, there's a defined wall and it stops right there. So this is a striker fired gun. It's not squishy. There's a little bit of travel, a little take up right here, and then there's a defined wall. Now I'm gonna break the shot and then reset right there. Pretty quick, off the shot. You're back on and ready to go. So it's a really good trigger. I like it. And the difference between this and the Spectre comp is the color. It is seriously just a coating, and I don't think it really changes the performance characteristics at all. It might feel a little smoother to the finger, but I mean, that's not important when it comes to performance. So we're gonna do the same thing with this gun. Reset right there and back again. Boom, good to go. It's a good trigger, I like it. All right, so you might find yourself asking, why should I spend an extra $500 to pick up the Spectre comp when the perfectly good P365XL will do? I'll tell you. If you wanted to add a compensator to this gun, you're going to have to swap out the barrel for a threaded option. You're then going to have to buy the compensator, bolt it on, and hope that you do a good enough job so that it stays in place. That combination is probably going to be in the neighborhood of the same price when you look at the upgraded features of the Spectre comp. The beautiful thing about this, it is compensated from the factory. So there's nothing else that you have to bolt on. It is ready to go as it is. And it should reduce recoil up to 30%. So the big difference between these two guns is going to be in the performance of after that first shot is broken, getting your sight picture, getting back on target. That really comes into play when you're shooting fast. Let me demonstrate. First off, your grip and your stance should be helping you with mitigating recoil and muzzle flip. So that's pretty fast, but let's see what we can do with the Spectre comp. So you can still outrun it, but it's handling the recoil and the muzzle flip just a little bit better. You want to still keep a good grip, good stance, and manage that recoil as much as possible. But yeah, you can tell there's a difference when shooting and tracking your rounds on target. Okay, so wrapping up on the P365XL versus the P365 Spectre comp. What are the main differences? The guns are basically the same size, but with the Spectre comp, you're going to get much more aggressive texture on the grip. You're going to get an optics ready option, and of course, the colored barrel and trigger. And that doesn't really affect performance, it's just pretty. But then on top of that, you've got the built-in compensator. And that does make a difference. I was able to determine that when shooting quicker, I was able to get quicker sight picture established after each shot. So that does make a difference. The difference in price is going to be about $500. Is that worth it? Could be. It's really up to you to decide. If you want more details, please head over to the website and look at the full review on pewpewtactical.com. I'm Sean, thanks for watching.